So welcome everyone. This is the first of our hopefully many instructor community calls, and the idea of this is to kind of give us a give us a way to be able to communicate directly with you as the MCTs, and also for you to be able to do the same. So the idea is that we're going to have as a monthly sort of base, a chance to be able to talk, to be able to show you something that might be that might have been new, and be able to again take some of the feedback and that sort of thing. And myself, I'm a MCT. I've been a Microsoft certified trainer now for 22 years. It feels much longer than that some days. It feels much shorter than that some days. So with all the changes that have happened through the MCT program over the years, and also to technology and that sort of thing over the years as well, where we've had to deal with a lot of changes. Certainly in that time, like since I've been in. But one of the things that's been constant has been the sense of community across the MCTs, and from what I know of MCTs, and is that they're never backward in coming forward with feedback, which is great. So we're very much a vocal group of people, and not afraid to speak our minds, and also be the advocate for the students in the classrooms, right? So that's the reason why we got into doing what we do in the first place, is to do the best for to be able to present to people, to talk to people, and to be able to make sure that they have the best experience. So it's always good to be able to have a chat to fellow MCTs and that sort of thing, and be able to get some of that feedback. Just a little bit of an overview of the recognition program, so that you then know what's going to be going on within the you might have got emails around that, but then just some highlights that have come from that. Also calling out the new Instructor Dashboard if you haven't come across that as yet within within the environment, because it is. It's a great change to be able to put things all into one place, so that you can then see, what's coming up this week, get access directly to your classes and that sort of thing, as well as being able to look to see what you're, getting access to things like your MCT subscription on the platform, which is not an easy thing to do that I've found in the past. I've always had to go navigate through, whereas now it's a really simple thing to be able to get to, as well as then being able to navigate through what you're doing what you're doing this week, and where you're actually up to with your prep and that sort of thing. We'll also talk about the new Skillable community courses. So that's an exciting new development that we've got in place, which is an overhaul of how we present courses, and putting the hands-on component of it, and then your skills, really coming through to the fore. So we'll talk through that, and then some of the resources and prizes that are available that we've got, and we do have prizes. Jenny is most excited. She any chance there is to give away things. I've noticed Jenny is like, I have swag, so therefore you've come to the right place.
Hey, Kyle, do you mind if I say a couple things real quick? My name's Frank Garland. I'm the Chief Product Officer here, EVP of Products. And one of the things that I think that this company, I've only been at Skillable for about a year, a little over a year, but I've partnered with Corey Hines and with people like Kyle, for a long time, back when I was at Microsoft and before that. And one of the things that I think we may have gotten away from just a little bit in the last year, because we've just been busy, trying to improve our platform and do other things, is we've gotten away from really engaging you and listening. And what I remember about the MCT community, and I mean, I've managed MCTs, and I was an MCT, is that it's a loving community that really, really cares and is always willing to give you an opinion or four, right? And one of the things that I really want to make sure of, if you want to turn on your video and kind of even say something right now, like I am super excited about this monthly series. And my hope is that it becomes something where 20 or 30 people show up, or 50 people or 100 people show up, because we really want to build products and hands-on lab experiences that enable you to do your job better, like easier prep, better classroom experience, higher score at the end. Like that's what this is about. John, Daryl, anybody, anything that you hope we cover?
Yeah, well, I'm just seeing the agenda, but I've not seen the details. But personally, the suggestion I want to make is majorly in the area of the lab guides, because I realize that personally I use Skillable a lot. I like to use Skillable, even from the days of LOD. And then I will say a big thank you, because I think your platform is great. In addition to that, I think your commercial is very, very wonderful compared to competitors. So your commercial is great, and yes, and your platform is wonderful too. So I think the suggestion I want to make is with regards to the lab guide. The cloud environment is always changing. And I realize that occasionally your lab guides are usually not up to date. Because for those of us that I bit experience, I have about 11 years experience as an MCT, and I've worked in the on-prem environment and do a lot. I have over 20 years experience in IT. It keeps changing, but one suggestion I want to make from my own experience is with as regards your lab guides. Because when you go to GitHub tends to get more updates. Will I say faster than others?
Yep.
Perhaps, Skillable and maybe other lab platforms usually sync the update from GitHub. So I'll make a suggestion to the team that it would be great if the lab guides can be as up to date as possible. Because personally, I think that's one area of observation. I say, okay, let me see if I can bring it to the notice of the team. But so far, it's been great, and I want to see you guys should keep up the good work.
That's awesome. Thanks. See, that's the kind of stuff that I hope that we do here. And so I just want you all to know that we want to hear from you. This new community course that we're just launching, this is a brand new course style that we've done. It's not just a lab anymore like we've always done. It's a whole course. And I think that I think it's awesome. I think you're going to love it. Like I know the instructors I've known in the past would love it, but I also know that it's not perfect by any stretch. Like it needs a little TLC in some spots. And we're kind of counting on you guys over the next few months to just help us help you. And that's just, I just wanted to say that out loud. So anyway, Kyle, I'm really sorry to kind of throw myself in here just for a couple of minutes, but I want to get the community aspect of this and how we want to really help the MCT community again.
But yeah, so thanks, John. We will we'll take note of that. If you do, like, if you can send in send in to that updates at Skillable, if there's a particular course that you note that on, and the reason I say that is because we actually do draw directly from GitHub the course notes. So if it's not updating, then we need to know which one it is, because there might be something in the config of the course. So that should actually be pretty transparent. So if there's an update in one, then it should actually immediately come through to the course notes. But yeah, so we'll have a look to see what's going on there. All right. So moving on then. Almost 47,970 badges that we've issued out. And it recognizes, as I said, what you do in the classroom. So it's things like, that you've delivered your first class, because as you know, as an MCT, that first class, and for some of you that may be a while ago, that first class is always the hard one to do, right? It's always the one like, why did I choose this as my profession again? And then you get to the end of the week and you're like, yes, I won. The students walked out knowing more than what I started with, more than what they started with. So that's always a great thing to promote. But then, as you start going through, when you get to, of delivering 500 classes, delivering to 6,000 students, these are all, big achievements. So right from, the first student up to, your 10,000th students, it's going to be something that we're going to recognize you with. Now, if you are, say for instance, a contract instructor and you work across multiple training centers, we'll still gather that information and recognize you no matter where it is you've done that delivery. All right, so moving on then to the new Instructor Dashboard. So as I said, this is something it's pretty exciting. It's whichever of the training centers you're logged in with their custom URL, and then you'll see the /instructor/dashboard. You can then see at a glance what your training looks like. And so this, we've previously had a calendar for you to be able to access, but now what we've done is we've actually made it a little bit more accessible as such, particularly if you've got multiple classes that you're running during the week. So in this case, I've got a couple of classes that I'm running, one which I'm running apparently overnight, one which I'm running during the day. So therefore, they're very, very long days. But then what we've got is we've got the ability to be able to click into those. And as we click into those, what that'll do is that will then drop you into your instructor view for that particular course. In addition to that, get back to the right tab. In addition to that, you've got access to all your classes. You've got access to the simple places to be able to put in your availability, particularly if you are a contract instructor. That one place to go and put in, hey, this is I've got an availability coming up next week or 3 weeks time, that sort of thing, so that other the training centers who are using the contract instructor pool can go and put that in place. Okay, can go and search and say, hey. Yeah, I've got, John, I need someone to be able to do some training in a couple of weeks' time for this particular course. So, I'm going to get John to see if he's available. So make sure that if you are a contract instructor that you have opted in to be to make your details available, and then you'll have that. You may have centers reach out to you. If you are doing that as well, make sure that you do fill out your competencies as well. So that's where you can then say what it is that you're actually available to teach on or to train on. To train, not teach. And there's Jenny and Ashley will laugh at that. And but because I did correct them at one point, and I won't explain why I corrected them, but there is a difference between teaching and training. And I said, no, as MCTs we train. But in here, as you're getting ready to do new courses as they're coming out, you can actually add them in, mark them up, and say, hey, look, I'm going to be ready for this, so that someone can go and actually say, hey, Jamie, can you come and do a course for us, in the future. You can also obviously block out times as well, which is a really good thing to do. You need some time to be able to do your prep. You want to have some holidays or some time off with family. That's you can put that in place. But this is where the thing that I love the most in here is the my subscriptions part, because this is the one that I always struggle on our platform to find. So having this in one spot makes it really simple to be able to go and find your Challenge Labs All Access Pass. This is also where your MCT pass will come in as well, for getting access to all of the labs all of the courses that are available for you to be able to see. So having this one place to be able to go and manage what your activities are and what you're what you're actually doing on any particular day, what and how that's going to look. Makes life so much easier to be able to go in and see those things. So now, I did say it was something that I loved, but if you haven't already signed up for the MCT Challenge Labs All Access Pass, please make sure you do, because that then gives you access to our extended platform, right? So that's the additional labs that you might see as part of some of the courses that you might have run. Particularly, you would have seen it in some of the Azure courses. You would have seen it, but you're going to see it a lot more in our community courses, where we've pulled in some of those challenge labs. But those challenge labs as well are available for you as the MCT to be able to get access to all of the challenge labs, and we're up over 1,000 labs now, which are additional things for you to be able to do some prep on and be able to expand your knowledge and your experience with. And it goes across, obviously, the Microsoft product, but it also goes across things like AWS and VMware, and we're adding more and more content all the time. So I really encourage you to jump into that. And to be able to do that, sign up for your MCT, for the MCT subscription. So the dashboard, yeah. So there's a couple of people. So Daryl and Jorg seem to have been using or at least Daryl's been using the dashboard, and Jorg's been using the challenge labs. So please make sure that you do go on and use those. So Daryl, what's the best thing that you've used out? Like, what's your favorite part of the dashboard so far?
Well, it's just an easy way to keep everything that I do at Skillable in one place, especially the calendar.
Yep. Yeah, like that at a glance, being able to see what's going on makes things so much simpler, and even just like the day, like the week at the glance, being able to do things, be able to in there, as well as that, like you'll notice that, like, and for those that haven't used it yet, easy access to things like the managing your files, so adding that extra content in that you add in for classes, and that's like being able to do that in one place, and the getting access to your training keys. It's a nice one place to be able to get access to all of your content and everything that you need to do within your within your training week or your training life. All right, so with the access to the courseware, so your MCT access obviously is for all the mock courses, and we've got permission from Microsoft to be able to give you access to those. We do have an offer for other vendor the equivalent of the MCT, so the other vendor trainers to be able to get access to things like the challenge labs on those particular topics. But as an MCT, you have access to, as I said, the challenge labs, which then gives you access to other topics that are in there. So that's like we can't give you the courses, John, but we can certainly give you access to challenge labs to be able to use. So things like the AWS labs. So we've got a lot of AWS labs that you can then run as part of those challenges. So so that, like, particularly, like, as a Microsoft focused person, oftentimes when you're in a classroom, things like, hey, how does this Azure stuff compare with AWS? I was for a long time went, okay, I don't know what is an AWS, so being able to jump in and have a look at some of those challenge labs and see some of that technology, as I said, it kind of expands out your experience. And the other thing it's going to expand out is it expands out what your what you can deliver into the class as well, and certainly can help you to get ready for get prepped for exams, whether they're Microsoft exams or whether they're AWS exams as well. So so you certainly do have that ability. All right, so the next thing that we want to have a talk about is our new community courseware. So as you all know, Microsoft in their wisdom last year decided to get rid of a whole bunch of courses that people still relied on and wanted to use, and certainly was still in demand within the market, but they weren't cloudy enough, right? So therefore, that was one of the big things that sort of that Microsoft, I think was one of the reasons why there was that push to move away from it. So what we've done is we have created replacement courses for the for some of those courses, and we're working on more. We are working on like to be able to bring the sort of the ones that were more in demand, the more popular sort of ones. But what we strayed away from is simply taking what was there already and then just doing some find and replace of names and going, now you've got a new course which is actually the same old course. Instead, what we did was we took the opportunity and the chance to be able to reinvent what that course delivery looks like, and to be able to take an opportunity to make a change for the better. Well, as far as we're concerned, and as far as someone who's been in classrooms and that thing, as far as I'm concerned, it's a much better way to be able to deliver. But it's a revamp of what we've got, right? Of what that delivery platform looks like. So it's using the same obviously platform from the access of launching labs and that sort of thing that you would have seen previously with your students. However, and with Microsoft Courses, however, what we've done is we've revamped what that looks like from an experience once you're actually in the course. And the idea is sort of that in the past, when you've been in the classroom and you've been delivering to the students, first off, it was very much a rote sort of follow this slide and then move to the next one, and then at the end of it you have hands-on labs, and then the students basically do the hands-on labs, and at the end of it, you hope they've completed it, you've hoped they've asked questions along the way, but there's no real sort of way to test to see how much they've actually taken in. And particularly once you get to the end of the week, or even the end of the day, what did they learn? How does it bring it all together? And that's all of those sort of ideas are what we've combined together to bring in what Ashley would refer to as not your mama's mock, to bring together the experience. So rather than it being, you present and then do labs, and then present and then do labs, and then present and then do labs, and then wave goodbye as people walk out the door. What we have is we've got a revamping of that. So we start off with, introducing the concepts about what is actually in the module. So having an overall view, this is what we're going to be talking about. Then what we do is we assess what the student knows. So at the beginning of each one of the modules, there's actually an assessment that the students complete within the hands-on environment. Then they get to you then put some context around what it is that we've asked them about, what it is that we've actually given them some information around. And that's where the discussion is going to come through. That's where you, as the instructor, sort of come to the fore and say, "Hey, this is this is the reason why we've looked at the questions that we've asked. This is what the context is for the information we're about to give you. What do you know about it? How do you and doing that interaction." We then have a practice lab, and that practice lab, based off what the assessment is going to be, will be a different set of instructions that we can present to the students, and it's kind of tailored to them. Right now, for those that have been around long enough to have the paper-based books, you would have the front of the book and the back of the book, and we still have the same thing within SkillPipe when you're doing that, as when you're doing the presentation in there. There's the instructions that are part of the front of the book, with the sort of the more high-level instructions. This is what we want you to do. Go and configure a group policy to be this. And then you'd have at the back of the book was the step-by-step, right? And students would always be, well, should I be doing the one at the front, or should I be doing the one at the back? And you, as the instructor, you'd look at some students and you're going, you're definitely front of the book people. You're definitely back of the book people, right? But you've got to be really nice about how you say that to them. So what we do is we do that for you as part of that assessment, right? We actually give you we give them a little bit of a prod. Okay, you're a step-by-step instruction person. You're an overall person. But the students can also pick their own journey as well. So as they start getting more confidence, they can change between the the step-by-step to the high level, or vice versa, to give themselves more of a challenge. So that's as part of that practice lab, when we put that in place, that we give them that 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 context, right? There's also demo environment for you to be able to demo with as well. Now, with the demo environment, when you're doing your demos, and we have guidance for what sort of things to demo, you can change in between modules to be able to do demos. So say, for instance, as an MCT, if you want to, to stretch your legs a little bit, if you want to, hey, okay, yeah, what we're talking about here, that's great, but there's also these other things that you can also stretch through with that as well, without having to change between different environments. And just in that sort of the overall with the sort of that demo as well, one of the things that we've heard from MCTs is on the timing of how much time you have within your lab. So, and because you were using the student version of labs within the Microsoft context, that, you only had, an hour, 2 hours, whatever it was, exactly the same as what the students had for that particular module. Whereas now you've actually got a separate environment, and your separate environment is not counted in hours, it's counted in days. So then you have the flexibility to be able to go and make your changes, to be able to set up, demos ahead of time that might be your particular thing you want to put in. So it gives you a lot of flexibility in your delivery, right, than what you would have had in the past. So after the students have done their practice lab, you've done your demo, then again, we encourage, we've got sessions, parts of the session to be able to encourage that discussion and that the Q&A, right? To be able to draw out the things, okay, so now that you've done this you've done this lab, what's the question that's come out of that? What does that look like for you? How does that, how does that work in your context? Is there something that you would do for if you're implementing that in your business? So it gives you a chance to be able to answer those questions. And to be able to further out what they've learned and put that in place. And then we assess them on the way out. So, again, we've never really known if a student brings what they carry forward from a module. We've had some of that, right? There's the knowledge checks at the end of a module, but now when we assess them, we're actually doing it in a little bit more formal sort of fashion, right? Where we are actually assessing what they've learned and remembered, so that then, you can say, hey, you remembered stuff that we did today, right? And we even proved that more by having the Capstone Lab. So with the Capstone Lab, the idea of that is that gives us a chance to be able to have to be able to look at what they've done during the day, and then bring it all together. Because the individual modules on their own, when you're doing your delivery, they're great, but they're not necessarily how do they actually relate to each other, right? And by bringing the Capstone Lab in together, when you bring in together everything they've learned during the day, it then gives you a chance to be able to further, join up the dots. And some of them could be pretty disparate dots sometimes. But it gives you a chance to bring all those dots together to be able to say, this is what we've done. Once they've done the Capstone Lab as well, and they've done the completion of the Capstone Labs, then we actually issue out a course. We'll be issuing out a course badge for them as well. So it's another thing that taps off the edge of that. Now that's future development for that, so to be able to come through. So and I'm sure if there was a chance that Jenny would give everyone a prize for finishing as well, but but when that comes through, the course badges, of course, will be the prize. So all right, so let's just have a look at one of the courses, just simply so you can see kind of what that layout looks like. So there's a couple of things just to kind of to bear in mind as I quickly change to the right page. So I've got your questions coming up as they might come up. So so far so good. This is similar to what you would see everywhere else, right? In the classes. It's when we start moving down into the rest of the activities that's where the changes occur. So you will see an instructor's guide, preparing for the Skillable Community courses. That's a little bit of a video. You might see someone familiar in that, just to give you a bit of an idea about, if you forget what we've talked about today, some of the in there. But this part here is the important one, the demonstration lab environments. This is where you get to launch out the lab environment, which is then your one that you can use to be able to change between the various different modules. I'm going to go ahead and get that launching in the background. We'll come back to that in just a moment. And then if we scroll down, again, you've got some instructor-only options within here, right? So the instructor-only, that's where the Capstone project, the Capstone Lab environments are. So that's, again, where you get to be able to see what it is that we're testing what that Capstone projects are for the students. But then what the students actually get to see is what's down here. So the module 1, module 2, etc. So what you'll see is learner section 1, learner section 2, 3, etc. Now, what do we do with that? That's our guide for like basically what the days would look like, right? And that will go to, scroll all the way down the bottom here. For your resources that are in here, so that'll be like, going to be relating to things like the learner guide, the PowerPoints, etc., that are going to be so you can then plan out what your days are going to look like and how that's going to work. So each one of these are the official labs that we've got built as part of the lab, as part of the course. So this is the one that on the way in we'll test them, on the way out we'll test them, make sure that they know that they've learned something, and give them that guide to start off with. And again, we've got some guidance on what your days are going to look like. So learner 1, so section 1, section 2, section 3. In addition to that, obviously there's the capstone projects that I mentioned, but then down the bottom here we've got the post-class hands-on challenge labs. So this is where we've taken some of the content that's in the Challenge Labs content and we've pulled that in. Now, as I said, you've seen this before. This is part of our part of the, like, a lot of the Azure courses you would have seen this as part of, where it's the cream on the top. It's the gravy, right? It's the things that the students can do when they go away from the class. They can actually look to see, hey, what is it that I can do to expand out my knowledge? And it's more sort of targeted bits of information. So let me pull this up now. This is my, it's gone onto the wrong screen. There it is there. So this is my instructor environment. So if I have a look into here, there's the overall details about what's in there, as well as our launch guide for the trainer guide and for the PowerPoint slides. This is only for you, right, as the instructor. But if I go to the module design, that's where you'll see the overall information about kind of what we're trying to get to. And then this is the modules, right? So this is where you can then flick between the modules for the delivery. Okay. So as we go into each one of the modules, this is what the students see, and there's the two different versions, right? There's the this is the overall guide with some hints that are available, versus you get to see everything, sort of you get to see everything environment. But this is good because if you haven't figured this out as yet, this is where you can split the window out. You can put this over on a different screen. Once I can click into the right spot. You can put that into a different screen. Apparently my mousing is a challenge today. And then once you've got that on a different screen, you can then be following those instructions because you're that one page ahead of the students, and be able to do the work do the work as you've been going, right? So it's if you haven't worked that out already, it's a nice easy way to be able to sort of to assist you with being able to if you forget what does I need to do for this particular module, you've got it there. You can have it, as I said, sitting separately, so that you can kind of cheat a little bit with the students. But as we scroll down through here, okay, we've got some instructions, videos, demos, and that sort of thing that you can pull up and things that you can show the students. Right, what they should be seeing and what we need to do for particular activities, right, to be able to check the work. Now, when we're checking the work, this is what the students will be checked on, right? So at the end of each module, we'll actually go and check to see what the configuration has been done. Now, obviously, that's going to depend on what the configuration is for the particular student. for the particular module, but it gives you a way to be able to see within here what it is that we're testing on to make sure that they have completed the steps. And as long as they've got everything configured correctly, then we say it's a successful lab. The overall view of what's in there now, it is new, right? It is a reimagining of what delivery looks like. As an MCT, a lot of it kind of reflects to me, like when the team showed me and said, this is what we're doing, I went, that's perfect. That's how I deliver, right? You know, I often would flip it around. I'd do the hands-on component first, because then we know what to talk about. We know what the deficiency in what people's knowledge is and that sort of thing. So we're doing a lot of that as part of the delivery. You know, obviously, give us any feedback after you've started looking at these. We do have an offer, a special offer for your training centers, which is 30% off all the overall prices until the end of the year. So for those, so it gives you a really good chance to get in and test them and use them. And obviously, as an MCT, you have access to these now to be able to go and run through them. And I encourage you to do it and to let us know what's going on, or what your experience is with it. And obviously, the resources that are for you. So go to the instructor recognition, the instructor dashboard, as well as to mock for you to be able to get access to. Sign up for the MCT offers, make use of the resources that we have, and then join into our instructor channel within Slack if you're not already there, and be sure to give us the feedback. Right, as the MCTs, you are our eyes in the classroom, so you see things that we don't, right, and you see it's challenges that we don't, because of everything works perfectly well until we get students involved, right? Until someone walks in the room, that's everything's perfect. And as the instructors, you're the ones that help us to be able to improve that product and then help us to improve your delivery. All right, so thanks all, and we'll see you next month.